Once you've added text, numbers, and formulas or functions that perform calculations on those numbers, it might be time to make your worksheet look nice. It may not be all that pleasing to the eye using the defaults. Such is the case with our Leaf and Mortar revenue sheet here that we've been working with. And as you can see, I filled in the remaining figures, added some totals over here. You can get caught up with me by going to the Chapter 2 folder of your exercise files and opening up LM Revenues 0201. For example, check out the top left corner here where we see our title. It's barely noticeable using the default font, size, and attributes. So let's make some adjustments to the text in our worksheet. We'll start by going to cell A1. You may be tempted to click and drag across all the way to column E because it looks like that content fills up those cells. As you may recall, if there's nothing in the cells next to the contents that we entered here in cell A1, it simply overlaps those cells and is visible. If we were to add anything to cell B, C, D, or E1, it would get cut off. So clicking in cell A1 and looking at the formula bar shows us that everything's in cell A1. If we go to B1, there's nothing there. No point in formatting those empty cells. All we need to do is click cell A1 and start formatting. So let's go to the Home tab here, make sure it's selected on the ribbon, and focus in on the font group here. You can see the current font, you can see the current size, and then some buttons for making changes to attributes, color, fill, and of course the font face and size can be adjusted. Let's start with the font face by clicking the drop down. Now your list of fonts could be different than mine depending on your installation, but there will be an alphabetical list down below. And as we scroll down, you can see that the font name uses the font face, so we get an idea of what it might look like. Also, as we hover over these different font faces, we can see in the background, right in behind our drop-down menu, changes being made to give us a real-time preview of what that might look like. So you might want to experiment. There are many to choose from. I'm going to go all the way back up to the top here and select Arial Black. Go ahead. So already now our title is standing out just by changing the font face. Let's go to the font size now. Currently set at 11, click the drop-down, you'll see a number of preset options to choose from. Next one is 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and then it starts to jump up. Notice as we hover over these, we get a nice little real-time preview in the background again of what it could look like if we made that selection. Let's go to 12 and select it, just a little bit bigger. The other option is to bump it up using those intervals that we saw on the drop-down menu using the increase and decrease font size buttons. Let's bump it up. You can see the next one's 14. Click again. Goes up to 16, then 18, then 20. You realize that's too big. We go to the next button to decrease using those same intervals. Let's go all the way back down to 16. I think that looks good. Now this is the type of font where we probably don't need to do things like bold, italic, even underline this. It's standing out, but let's change the color. Over here, you'll see the capital letter A with the red underline. That's the font color button. And clicking this drop-down arrow will give you the palette. Now, what you're going to see at the top is automatic. That's currently the default what's being used, black. Then you'll see theme colors. The default theme being used here has a set of its own colors and shades of those colors down below. So as you hover over those, you get a real-time preview once again in the background of what that might look like. There are also standard colors. And if you want more colors, clicking more colors will give you full access to all the palettes. But let's just go with a nice dark green for Leaf and Mortar here. As you hover over this last green option in the last column, green accent 6, darker 50% is the pop-up displaying some information about that color. Go ahead and select it. It's applied to our entire title. Okay, let's go to our headings here. We see location, January, February, all the way over to totals. Maybe those should stand out a little bit. Maybe change the alignment as well because text is left aligned and the numbers right aligned. You can see it doesn't look all that pleasing to the eye. So we could go across here and click and drag to select everything we want to adjust. Or if it's the entire row, just simply click in the background to deselect and go to the row number. If we want everything in row 4, even things we add down the road to be formatted the way we want, we can select the entire row by clicking the number. Go ahead. Clicking the 4 selects the entire row all the way out to the very last column. Now any changes we make, like bolding, that looks good. Maybe bumping up the size to 12. Looks pretty good. You can see anything we type in these empty cells now, just type your name, will also take on that formatting. And that's because we selected the entire row. The same thing goes for columns. We can select entire columns by clicking. You can even click and drag to get multiple columns. Click in the background to deselect, or multiple rows. But I think all we need to do is select the contents now down the left-hand side to format them. We'll format them the same as what we see across the top for the months of the year. Just select from A6 to A11, and we'll go up to the bold button, and we'll bump it up to 12, like so. Click in the background, and as you can see, it's already starting to look much nicer, a little bit easier to read as well. Let's go back to our months of the year and change their alignment. I think that'll fix things up even better. You'll notice when we select from cell C4 all the way to O4, we select just the contents we want to make adjustments to. If we wanted the entire row again, we could select 4, but I want to leave location left aligned. So let's go up to the alignment group now on the ribbon, and you'll see a number of different alignments for horizontal and vertical alignments. So I'm thinking maybe center might look better. Let's select center. You can see how things get moved over in the middle of the cell horizontally. We can even do it vertically by going up to the one above, middle align. We'll just bump it up slightly. Now, if for some reason this row expands in height, everything will be centered vertically and horizontally. Kind of like that better. Click in the background to see the end result, getting even easier to read now. Of course, we can do formatting with numbers. There are many more options there. We'll discuss those next.